Hi everyone, today we are going to study the ecosystem, which is unit 2 of this. There are different set of questions which comes in our mind in general, that how these units like hot desert, dense forest and Antarctica sea, or shallow pond differ from each other, how their fauna and flora are different, how they derive their energy and nutrients to live together, how they influence each other and regulate their stability, how they survive, etc. So I think these are the questions which we are going to answer under this unit called ecosystem. Now, students generally get confused with the concept of ecology and ecosystem. Now, here I would like to make you clear that there is not much difference actually. The ecosystem is the fundamental unit of ecology, and we often refer or we often say that the ecology is the study of ecosystem. So, there is not much difference. So now, as we have understood the difference between ecology and ecosystem, let's have a look who had come up with the word called ecology, and it was Ernst Haeckel in 1869. The term ecology is a Greek word. Oikos means home, logos means study. Let's try to understand what is individual, population, community, and how it becomes an ecosystem. Now we can see as individual is like one kind of uh, individual is individual. Population is group of same species, as you can see, same kind of flowers, single species. So this is population. Community is group of different species living together, like you can see trees, flowers, insects, etc. They are different species living together, so they are the community. Now how it becomes ecosystem, you can see now community, whatever we are talking about, plus non-living physical environment. When it combines together, it forms ecosystem. So here non-living physical environment is air, water, soil, sun. You can see here in this picture cloud as well. So these are the non-living physical environment plus community, which is the group of different species living together in a particular area, is an ecosystem. Now, this is a typical kind of ecosystem called aquatic ecosystem, also known as water ecosystem. Here you can see how these communities, different species, like you can see turtle, fishes, phytoplanktons, zooplanktons, etc. Staying together, living together, forming community, and the non-living physical environment, which you can see here, is sun, water, of course air. So all these are non-living things, and these together are forming aquatic ecosystem. This is another example of an ecosystem called grassland ecosystem, to make you understand how ecosystem forms. That you can see here different species staying together and forming community. These are you can see deer, cow, tiger, etc. Different insects are there, decomposers are there, microorganism, etc., plants. So these are different species forming community, and with their physical environment, which is air, water, soil and sun, of course, they form a grassland ecosystem, right? Now, after getting the concept of what is ecosystem and how it happens, we will understand the component of ecosystem. What are the components? There are two basic component of ecosystem. One is abiotic component and second is biotic components. Abiotic is related with non-living physical and of course maybe chemical as well, and biotic is living components. And the relation between biotic and abiotic components we call as holosynosis. Now let's talk about the biotic components of an ecosystem. The biotic components, the living things in an ecosystem, may be plants, animals and microorganisms. And these biotic components are classified, there are two kind of classifications are there. One is based on their nutritional behavior and status in an ecosystem. For example, they are producers in the ecosystem or they are consumers in the ecosystems. producers are the one who produces food in an ecosystem or nutrition, source of nutrition, and consumers are the one who consume the production of producers, right? So this is one kind of classification for biotic components. The other kind of classification exists is based on how they get their food, and this classification is based on this. These biotic components are divided into autotrophs, heterotrophs, and saprotrophs. Now, autotrophs are the one who can make their own food. Now, they are not dependent on others, and that's why they are called as producers. Sometimes they're also called as converters or transducers. How they are able to make their food? Because they are the only one actually who can tap the solar energy. Solar energy is very important, major source of energy basically, and this is very important to produce food, to convert raw inorganic materials into complex compounds, which in our terms we call food, of course. So without, and these producers are basically the plants, because chlorophyll containing plants, because chlorophyll is important to tap solar energy, and the whole process of making food by plants after tapping solar energy and taking up raw materials is called photosynthesis. Now, one thing we need to understand that the autotrophs are the basis of any biotic system in any kind of ecosystem, right? Without autotrophs, nothing is possible in any kind of ecosystem, because they are the producers who produces food and make it available to each and every biotic, or you can say life forms available in any kind of ecosystem. Now they have a very important role. How they play this role? As we know that the autotrophs are basically the green plants, chlorophyll containing plants. They have the capability to tap solar energy, take up raw form of inorganic matters, and they make it complex compounds which we call food, and they make it available. Now, in terrestrial ecosystem, we also call them land ecosystem. These autotrophs are basically the rooted plants, as we can see all around us. But in aquatic ecosystem, these autotrophs are basically the phytoplanktons, and sometimes shallow rooted plants, we also call them macrophytes, right? So these are the autotrophs in aquatic ecosystem. Now, with respect to the sunlight, where available, and these autotrophs who have chlorophyll to tap solar energy is fine, and they can produce food, they can be the producers. But what about the places where these, the sunlight is unable to reach, and there is also kind of ecosystem is existing, and they also need kind of producers to produce food and make it available. So such situations are there, we can say in we can say like ocean depths, right? So there sunlight cannot reach, but there are the living system, biotic system there existing. There is a kind of ecosystem is available. So in that case, chemoautotrophs are the one instead of photoautotrophs, or you can say autotrophs. These are the chemoautotrophs who play the role of autotrophs, right? So of course their sunlight cannot reach, so they cannot tap the sunlight, but of course they can tap some kind of heat generated due to the decay of radioactive elements, which happens naturally underneath the water of ocean, under ocean depths. And these heat, whatever get generated, these chemoautotrophs tap it, and then they use that heat to as a source of energy to convert dissolved hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide, which is already available in the water, to form organic compounds, or we can say food, for that kind of ecosystem underneath the ocean. Now, this is once again to make you clear that what kind of primary producers or autotrophs are there in marine ecosystem, and you can also see your grassland ecosystem. So you can see in marine ecosystem, or we can also say it as a aquatic ecosystem. Here, phytoplanktons and macrophytes, shallow-rooted plants, are the primary producers, and or you can say autotrophs, which are making food and make it available to the others. So the others are basically the consumers. So here you can understand the classification of producers and consumer. The next kind of ecosystem which I am presenting for you is grassland ecosystem. Here the grasses are the one who are basically the primary producers, or you can say autotrophs, and the rest of the biotic components here you can see deer, cow, tiger, etc., whatever are there, or saprophytes like decomposers, etc. They are the one who are basically the consumers of the primary producers. So this is the interesting thing. Uh, After understanding the autotrophs, let's have a look of heterotrophs. Heterotrophs are the one who are dependent on others for food. They cannot make their own food, and basically they are the consumers, right? So they are the consumers. So as far as consumer is concerned, there are two kind of consumers, herbivores and carnivores. Of course, make it clear yourself that herbivores and carnivores both are heterotrophs. They are dependent on others for food, right? So herbivores, we can explain that the herbivores are the one who can eat herbs or plants, or you can also say they feed directly on plants. That's why they are called herbivores, right? And these herbivores are also called as primary consumers because they can feed directly on plants. Carnivores are not the primary consumers. They comes after primary consumers. They are called as secondary, tertiary, or quaternary consumers based on the kind of and the nature of food chain exists in any kind of ecosystem. So they will be like that. So, what kind of primary consumers are? Who are they? So, if I'll consider or take terrestrial ecosystem as an example, so in terrestrial ecosystem, primary consumers are like cattle, deer, rabbit, grasshopper. So, from the name itself, you can understand these are the animals who actually feed directly on plants, and that's why they are primary consumers, and they are also herbivores, and they are also heterotrophs, but they are different from carnivores, right? Now carnivores are the animal which feed or prey upon other animals. They are also heterotrophs, of course, and these carnivores can never be the first order consumers, as we were discussing in the last slide, because first order consumers can only be the herbivores. So we will discuss in detail about this different order of consumers in case of carnivores when we will discuss or talk about the food wave and food chain in next lecture. But of course, there is something very interesting term called top carnivores, which you can see here mentioned. Let's have a look about it. Top carnivores are the one which actually comes at the end of any kind of food chain. We will discuss again this in detail in food chain and food wave. But these top carnivores are basically the large carnivores which cannot be preyed upon further, and that's why they are called top level carnivores. The top level carnivores generally are lion, tiger, etc. They cannot be, of course, preyed by anybody else. But of course, humans are different. We are not talking about them.